I think Jeopardy was something that I had in the back of my mind as like, oh, it'd be cool if ever the stars aligned for me to do that for a long time. You know, I was like not a fan in the sense of I didn't follow the show super closely, but I watched the show regularly through junior high and high school. Then when I moved out of my parents' house and no longer had access to cable, I stopped watching so regularly. There was also a period of time kind of concurrent with when I moved out where Canadians were temporarily not able to apply to be contestants on the show, and so it kind of fell out of consciousness for me in that way. But when I applied to be on the show, essentially what happened was it was COVID. I was back with my parents for an extended period of time, as so many people in my age bracket were. And as a result, I had access to cable again. I was watching a lot of Jeopardy. And then around that time was also when Alex Trebek passed away. And sort of a lot of people, I think, realized how much he and how much the show had meant to them just over, you know, he had been hosting it literally for my entire life up to that point. And so that was the moment where I was like, okay, if this show means this much to me and I don't know what the future of it is going to be now that this icon has been there for, you know, 37 years or whatever it was, is no longer going to be part of it, like I need to audition right now if I'm ever going to do it. And then that was what led to me being on the show. And now it seems like the show, you know, stable again. We've got 2 great hosts, so hopefully it'll continue to be on the air for a long time. The experience, it's like, people will say, how was your Jeopardy experience? And I'm like, well, my Jeopardy experience is still happening. You know, I taped my original run and then I had maybe like a month and a half between concluding the taping of that and then the shows started airing. And then, you know, they finished airing, but I knew I was going to go back for Tournament of Champions. And so went into the fall. Tournament of Champions aired in November, and then very shortly after that I learned I would be going back to do this new Masters series. So it's been a whirlwind. It's made it a little bit tough to envision, okay, like, well, what is my life gonna look like in 5 years? Because just everything that's happened over the past year, I've been completely unable to predict, like, at every stage, which is exciting and also scary. But yeah, I feel very, very lucky on balance to be having these experiences. You know, in some cases, junior high students, you know, we had some grade 7 students asking questions. But I think, you know, it's interesting, and I certainly found this interesting when the shoe was on the other foot and when I was a bit younger, to speak to somebody who, you know, you see as accomplished, but who also doesn't feel maybe so far away from your own age. You know, I think getting advice from somebody who's, say, 30 years into their career, it can be really helpful and meaningful, but there's a certain level, I think, when you're a teenager of like, okay, but what do you really know about what it's like to be in my shoes right now? It's so far away for you. Whereas for me, it's like, I remember very vividly being a teenager because it was only, what am I? I'm 24, so I was a teenager like 5 years ago still, right? So maybe there's a little bit more authority that I have when speaking to certain issues that concern students.